Like now.
No,
Hello everyone, welcome to Londroid. I hope you're all doing okay. Did you have a beer downstairs? I didn't. Okay, great. Sam Francesco, I'll be your host for the night. I would like to welcome you all from Londroid and Loda, and also big thank you to the Telegraph for hosting us again. Before we start, I would like to tell you, we have a raffle again, this time as well. If you tweet us at Londroid, you'll be entered to win a Android Things kit. So, if you do. And we have that raffle at the end of the event, before the social. We're gonna have two amazing talks today. One by Kaan, he's here, and another one by Kulle, who was working at the Telegraph. And I hope you will enjoy. But before we begin, please stand. And for 1 minute, please talk to someone else. But whatever you want.
Talking today.
Hey.
How you feeling?
Good. Well, slightly nervous. Yeah. Nice crowd.
Nice crowd, yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Do you normally talk public? No? Oh, first time. Oh,
It's
nice.
going to be a bit nerve-wracking, but
That's fine.
what's your talk on?
Sorry?
Proven experience instantly.
Yeah. Instant apps.
Are you currently working as an Android developer?
Sorry?
You work as an Android developer
Yes.
here?
Yeah. No, not here. I work at My Drive Solutions, a startup basically.
No, where? Is it
In London. Yeah.
I used to work here.
Yeah, I read your bio, bio. Yeah. So you don't anymore.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Attracted lots of guys, lots of people.
Yeah, lots of people.
Actually, we had 130 tickets on Eventbrite. We run out in something like.
Yeah, I couldn't register.
You need it. You don't need it.
Yeah.
We're ready to start.
Wow, people are very motivated to talk. It generally doesn't happen like this.
Thank you very much. You're the good part of the... Thank you very much. Lots to talk about. Some service information. The toilet is like on this door on the right, and in case of emergency, you're gonna be taken out of that door on the back. And now we're ready to start. So please welcome Kaan, who's gonna talk to us about
Whatever. Let's change this. Let's take it. Oh. Yeah, exactly. You're not supposed to see this. Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to Telegraph Londroid. I'm Kaan. I'm a mobile software engineer at My Drive Solutions in London. And I'm also a Google Developer Group London lead. You can find me on social media through my handle, or you can go to my website and I have all sorts of links that leads to my social media. So today I'm going to talk about sharing. So you spent lots of time creating a beautiful app like this. Well, probably more beautiful than this because this is still a work in progress. This is an app I'm currently working on for GDG DevFest this year in London. It will be in 1st December. So as you can see, if you won't get enough of me here, you can come there and I'll give talks in 3 parallel sessions all day long. So yeah, no, seriously though, there will be good speakers other than me. So come. Yeah, so like I said, this is still in work in progress, and but I spend lots of time on it. I'll spend more, and I'm sure all of you like have similar apps, or like either professional or personal on your free time you are working on such things. So after spending this much time, we really want users to share our app. So in this is the session details screen, which is work in progress. I put this beautiful button so that users can share sessions with their friends. So what are the options, or how can they share? The simplest way is to just share it as a text, basically, without like getting into any trouble. Just basically convert your content, which is seen here, into a text, and then like users can basically share it through their channels. But the issue here is that the person who will receive this message won't see that beautiful app you spent hours and hours on, and they won't see other content in your app. They won't be able to basically be your user. It's just they just received information and that's it. Because yeah, they won't even know this is coming from an app. It might be just copy paste from a website or something. So that's why we can do better with deep linking. So the deep linking is basically your app just says, hey phone, I can open URLs like this. So you just basically add this intent filter to your manifest file, into your activity, and that's pretty much it. You got the link. Well, obviously you need to generate the link when you click the share button. But then when the person clicks on this, if everything is perfect, like they got your app, for example, they will land on your mains. Hey. Okay, I'll go back because she didn't like it. So when they click, they'll land on your home screen, your launcher activity, because you didn't actually handle the link. You just said that you can you can basically show content of that link. So the phone allowed you to open the app, but then they landed on the main screen, so they don't know which session actually this person was talking about. By the way, this is me texting myself on Slack, so I'm a bit lonely, as you can see. I just realized I put myself everywhere. Yeah, so you can specify that like instead of any link, I will handle just session URLs, and you can put this intent filter to a specific activity which can actually show sessions instead of generic home screen. And in your activity, you get the actually content of basically the part after this session, which is in this case lunch, by just getting the intent and then data and then path segments. With this logic, it would be not 0 but 1. The path basically just generates array using slashes. Yeah, so we got that. Now, in a bad case, not the worst actually, it might ask basically the person to choose an app. And this is the lucky case because the person has your app actually. So and if you are lucky and have a website as well, the action the user will choose won't matter. So either way they will see the content. But if they don't have your app, then they will only basically end up with Chrome. And if you don't have a website, like it's possible because on my personal projects I start with Android at least. That probably also finish with Android because I'm an Android developer. So I won't have a website. In this case, I have we have a website for DevFest, but that particular link is not handled on the website, so they will end up seeing something like this. So we go back to safe case. We just share the text, and everyone is happy. Thank you very much. No. I mean, again, we have we didn't get that user in our app, so we can specify custom protocol that our app can handle. So Chrome won't jump that it can handle the link as well. So you can do this by changing this scheme to app instead of HTTPS. So now we got something like this. The biggest problem is that if user clicks on this link on web, nothing will, it will try to open and then it will probably go to some directory or something. So not good things won't happen. If there's no app on a mobile device, then if for example, in this case, Slack is handling it, so just showing a toast that you cannot open the link. But if the app is not actually handling it, it will crash because user doesn't have your app and there is no way to open this link. You can say that it's not my app that's crashing, so I don't care. But still, you didn't get the user. So we can do better with Firebase Dynamic Links, not deep linking. Fix this anyway. So on the Firebase website, they described it very nice. That's why I wanted to quote it. It basically provides you with the best available experience. So it allows you to deep link to your app. So basically everything I explained just now. If user doesn't have your app, it opens Play Store. It stays active across installation. So if user doesn't have your app, clicks on the link, goes to Play Store, downloads the app, and then the first time your app launches, it launches with that intent. So you can still show the right content after installation. They don't need to click the link again. And it allows you to track usage of the links. It shows how many clicks you get, how many first time user opened it, and if user clicked on that link again later, and how many people installed your app through this link. And also it's multi-platform, so you can do the same stuff on iOS and desktop as well. Basically it checks from where user is coming, and based on that, for example, I don't have an iOS app, so I just open it on the web browser, and if it's installed, then it goes to app. If it's not installed, then goes to Play Store. So to set up, this is a statically set up dynamic link. So I just did it on website. Not ideal. You can do it from your app using the SDK. Now in this case, basically I set the URL link, which is it's not your own website URL or your own domain. It's some Firebase domain and slash. You have subdomain, you have control over subdomain and the path. And then you say, you choose what the actual link is. What you want your app to receive, You define different behaviors for iOS and Android, and finally you can track your link performance. Yeah, that's cool, but we can still do better because users still had to install the app, and lots of users actually just stop at this point and like just say never mind, I'll just live without this content. So instead of this, we can just make it better. This is the best we can do so right now. User actually doesn't need to install your app to see the content of your app. So in order to work with instant apps, you need to design for modules. So you have feature modules. Well, you have application module, which is what you have right now with normal apps. You have feature modules that are basically doing some specific thing and like handling the data, or well, just some of them. But in my case, for example, I created one module for just Firebase stuff, Firestore. One for sessions because I want it to be an instant app, so it lives on its own module. And you have base module for every instant app application. Base module is basically included in every module. So your app module has it, so your instant app module has it. Every module depends on the base module. And besides that, basically, yeah. So this helps with also app indexing. So if you do the right thing in your manifest, then you will get your app indexed for Google search. So basically, when they search for some session, like some keywords that your sessions, for example, in my case again, your sessions include, then Google will show your app in the search result, and they can just open and see your session details in that case. Some stuff to keep in mind. Most important is that instant app APKs can't exceed 4 megabytes for now. There is a beta for 10 megabytes. Basically, they pick some specific apps to and allow them to have instant app APKs up to 10 megabytes. The reason is obvious here. The user basically wants to see the content immediately, and if it will be like as big as your APK, then they could as well download your app. So it should be as small as possible that user just sees the content without actually like going through lots of steps or waiting for it to load. And when you create new modules, don't forget to add new modules as dependencies to the other modules. So if you created, for example, the data module, which handles Firestore or your database thingy, then if there are, like, for example, app module depends on that. Mostly Android Studio handles this automatically and adds things to dependencies to the other modules, but obviously it doesn't know if it's a feature module, it doesn't know where you will use it, because the goal is to reduce APK size, so it doesn't add everywhere, because otherwise there's no point. Another thing is that your app depends on every module, so that basically your installed app, so it's basically a full experience. Yeah, this might cause trouble. Dependency versions, they might not match. So if you are using different dependencies on different levels, different modules, and when you import them, they might have conflicting dependencies. I had like quite a lot of issues with Firebase around this. So there's something to pay attention. And also a good practice is to extract version numbers. So I'm going to try to show a quick example on Gradle. Basically, you extract all the dependency versions out of the modules to application directory, root directory, so that all modules can use same versions. Again, I'll try to show it. Don't forget to add Kotlin plugin everywhere if you are using Kotlin. Sometimes when you create a new module, it doesn't add automatically. Even if it does add Kotlin to dependencies, it doesn't add the plugin sometimes. So, and again, I've seen like many crashes or build errors because of this. I didn't understand why it's happening because the error message is not very clear. So this is something to check. Well, for slides, this is pretty much it. But again, I'll try to show the. Yep. So I've got this versions Gradle with all the minimum SDK, target SDK, build tools, and all the basically dependency versions. And in the module level Gradle files, I just import. Well, in this case, I imported versions here. Sorry. Here I imported, so it applies to all files. But I also have this app Gradle with app versions. So you just basically apply that Gradle file in your app level Gradle file, and then you can just use basically these variables. This helps with if you are using same dependency in multiple modules. Well, if you have like in this case 4 or 5 modules, you probably don't use same dependency in multiple. If you are using, then you just add it to the base. Let me show the base. So anything you add here basically just applies your all modules. So if you add here, you don't need to add anywhere else. That's why basically if you see like it's happening like 2-3 times in such small project, then you just add it here and then you don't need to worry about it. But if it's like I don't know, project with like tens of modules, then you might have the same dependency in multiple modules. So if you use this structure, then you don't need to worry about the versions conflicting. I also want to show in the documentation page there is this nice kind of design best practices. So one of the things is that, oh no images. Could you please share internet? I could share internet, please. Sorry. Yeah. The critical stuff is done, so if you are running out of time, just let me know. These are nice recommendations by Google that I wanted to share, but I didn't want to add all of them into these slides. So yeah, basically this is the if you have try now feature with instant apps, people actually can try your app without downloading it on Google Play. So this is a cool feature. So this is a nice advice in my opinion. So don't force people to install your app with Instant App. So they like get the link, they click. It happens with like this, what was it, paywalls kind of. So basically you open the link, you see like some part of the content, and then in order to see the rest you need to install the app. So don't do that. Ask users to sign in the appropriate time. So don't push users to sign in, and if some content requires being signed in, then promote the sign-in feature. Preserve user state after app installation. So basically, if user is like using your app as an instant app, they are seeing, like, again, I will always give the example of this schedule app, basically GGDFS app as an example. So if they are seeing the schedule and then like during their instant app experience, they install your app. And then once they install it, they should go back to the screen they were before installation. You can do this using cookies. It's an SDK, part of Instant App SDK that you can use. Don't create any additional splash screens. Splash screens are like, some people just love them so much that I even had an experience that it should be at least 3 seconds, 5 seconds, even if because splash screen's goal is to just load the content, but some people just, in order to show their logo or something, they just put a specific time. So with instant apps, definitely don't do that, because instant apps are already loading with this native screen by Google Play. So just show your content without any splash screen. In an instant app, if user, again on the schedule screen, if user clicks taps back button in the bottom navigation, then they will just leave your instant app. But the app arrow shouldn't do this. It should always go one screen up. For example, in this DFS app, it will be the schedule screen. Is one screen up from a session screen. So, for example, in this case, once user clicks on that, the schedule screen only exists in the installed app, basically the whole app experience. So at that moment, you should ask user to actually install the app if they want to see the rest of the app, because that's the only place they can go at this moment. Basically don't try to provide a different experience to user with the instant app. Try to give exact same experience they would have if they would install the app, because that's the point. This is kind of a preview of your app, so try to give this same experience, same feeling. Use smart locks for Android so that the login process is smooth. When you promote installation, don't go crazy, don't show huge banners. Just use this get app icon from Material Design, and also just basically text should be just install, not like get the app, upgrade, or see the full experience or something. Don't go crazy. So don't show again screens that are not actually there, but if you install this full app, you will see them. Don't show this in instant apps. Just remove those, in this case tab, for example, and if they will install, just show it. And for payments, again, well, use Google Pay API, so that's again smooth. Yeah, this is the main basically point we came from. So make users share your content so that you spread the word of your app. You get more users, and your users also get a better experience. They can share the content without spending too much time on it. They can see the content without spending too much time on it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you can also use this instant app experience again on like your promotions. Like on Twitter, you can create promotion with the direct link to your app, your instant app. And with instant apps, it's mainly not necessary. If you are just focusing on Android, it's not necessary to use Firebase Dynamic Links. But if you want the same experience, or like at least better experience on iOS and web, then you can use dynamic links and instant apps together. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. Any questions? So clear, awesome.
One of the latest things you've mentioned is removing content if you're an instant app. So you would only have that content if you have the full app installed. Is there an easier way for the app to know if it's running as an instant app? Or?
Yes, so there is an instant app SDK. Anyway, there's an instant app SDK, and using that SDK, basically you can just get something like instant app dot get content something that is instant app. So it's like very straightforward. So you can easily learn if it's an instant app or full app running. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you're ready. Now welcome on stage, Kule.
How did you connect? Because I couldn't connect to Wi-Fi.
Both?
Can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Cool. Nice to meet you all people, lovely people, Android developers and others. So essentially my name is Kunle and I'm an Android developer. I've been doing software development for 4 years, Android on and off for 4 years, but professionally the last 2 years I've been mainly focused on Android. And funny enough, I was actually, yesterday was my last day at the Telegraph, so yeah. Awkward, but yeah, so I guess it's a job interview, I guess. But essentially my experience here at Telegraph allowed me to explore one of the areas that really caught my attention the last couple of months, and it's augmented reality. So it was a case where, if some of you might have the Telegraph app, and we were planning on doing an article which was about space, and we wanted to be in a sense where people can click on an image and they can see a virtual reality of the solar system. So, and that way they can interact. So that would be another way for our users to engage with our content, essentially. So we were tasked to do a little mini side project about augmented reality, and I've never done this before at that time, and by no means I'm no expert now. I still got a way to learn, but it was really interesting. I delved into it, so I decided to make my talk today about it. Some cheap promotion there. That's my Twitter. You can follow me. I'm very sociable and I'll interact with you. If you need any help or any guidance or anything like that, any information or something based on this presentation, just let me know. I'll be happy to send you links and I can share my GitHub project with you. So let's get started. So what is augmented reality? Augmented reality is another form of virtual reality where you're not fully immersed in the reality itself. We're still placing the user in the real world with computer-generated objects that the user can either interact with or just understand what's going on with that. And it's a case where, again, like I was saying back to the article, where we wanted the user to be able to see our content in another way rather than seeing it through your usual way of images and photos. That way you can get the user in and they can see generated objects of what's going on. And yeah, augmented reality has been around since the late 80s but early 90s. It's definitely older than me, but it's a concept where it's not really progressed as it should have. It's got so much opportunities to progress, so much potential, but it's not really it has not really evolved in that. And my talk is to try and sort of spark a conversation within our developers community to try and push it, because I really believe us mobile developers, web developers, we can actually take augmented reality to another level. And yeah. So any questions just about that, or you're good? You good? You following me? Everyone's awake, cool. So in the last couple of years, we've seen augmented reality go forward have huge success in the mobile industry. We've seen Pokemon Go. I love Pokemon Go. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. So I was kind of happy when this game initially came out, and it was another way. It was like, wow, this is something different. You're interacting with the world and your Pokemon. It was another way that showed that the potential augmented reality has in mobile games. Another game is, I don't know if anyone's played this, but My Tamagotchi Forever. I'm actually addicted to this game. This game is really, really cool. So it's another way for, like, I know most of you, I hope some of you have played Tamagotchi, so you both have an understanding. Basically have a virtual pet. So this one is, again, you're still having a virtual pet, but again, you can take pictures with your virtual pet in an augmented reality for a way. So it's another way to engage with your users rather than your traditional way of playing the Tamagotchi game. And both games have had huge success, and again, it taps into another area that us mobile developers can look into. Then other games I've played that's augmented reality on mobile is Nightfall AR and Jurassic World Alive. Nightfall AR it's a good game, but it's really heavy. It's like 300 megabytes. So yeah, that can take a lot on your phone. But again, it's another way of showing these game worlds in another form of a way we can present the user of information. Jurassic World Alive is very similar to Pokemon Go in terms of you're walking around, you're looking for dinosaurs, etc. And yeah, so I think that's a Triceratops. I can't remember what it was. But that's it on my, just about to eat my Magic Mouse. But it was cool, and that way you can, and that is another way of engaging with the users. They can not just play, but they can also learn through augmented reality, which is another good experience. It doesn't have to stick with games as well. We can go through other apps. I was recently playing around with AR stickers in my living room. No, not living room, but my way to my living room. And I just put the Star Trooper there, and it was AR sticker was immersed. It was a content using the camera app, which again we can use that in our app. We can make a way to engage with our users another way through AR, like example the way AR stickers did it. And again, it's very interactive, it's fun, it's a new way of engaging with our users. And then there's the other app, IKEA Place, which is very useful if you're someone who's moving around. You get to show, let's say, a furniture. Here we have a drawer, sort of drawer, and you can see how it looks in your living room or in your bedroom, get a rough idea of how it looks. And it's another way of where we can use AR to help benefit us, which is a really cool way. I think that's a really cool idea. Before you go and buy something that would be like, oh, now it doesn't fit in my living room or etc. So that's another creative way. Again, you can use it through educational purposes as well, which I feel like it can be used. I was talking earlier how I want to show the the planets in our Telegraph app, where the user can learn a different way, learn visually. And I found these two really cool apps, BBC Civilization app, where it's sort of like you're like in a natural, you're like the British Museum, and it has all these sort of crazy 3D objects that you can interact with and learn. So here we have Earth, I think it was 500 BCs, so just learning about that. It has like a 3D object of King Tutankhamun's tomb, so you can again learn through that, which is really cool. And this is another opportunity for us to give away, give content out there for users to interact with in another way. Then obviously you've got the solar system app, which is really cool. This one I'll say is more VR than AR, but there was a case where you're using your phone, and it basically projects the whole room that you're in space with the sun and the rest of the planets. And you can click on each of the planets and it'll give you useful information in terms of the gravity, in terms of its rotational speed, useful information. So it's another way where I feel AR can be used by us in the form of educating us, showing us new ways to view content and learn from our content. And you don't have to use AR as a side way within your app or make a game for AR. You can find ways to integrate it. You can use it through ads like Snapchat. They sort of have an AR module where you can take a picture and have like all sorts of crazy filters and little cartoons jumping around, which is really cool. Here we have L'Oreal using Facebook. Obviously we all know Facebook is, but they're using their camera to allow the user to show different virtual shades of their makeup. This again within the Facebook app, so it's a way that we can also interact within our app or any other app what you would like to do with AR. There's all sorts of stuff you can implement. It doesn't have to be a whole Pokemon Go, or it doesn't have to be a whole educational thing. You can sort of have like ads where you can implement AR, and that way you're keeping the user engaged with the ads but also within your app, so everyone sort of wins. So how can us developers get involved? Well, there's like so many platform libraries and frameworks out there for us lot to play with, so you don't necessarily have to play with AR Core. There's AR Kit, which is, from what I've heard from the dark side, that is a really good library to use, and like it allows them not to learn about OpenGL and all that stuff. It's really high level and it's really easy for them to get started with AR Kit. And some of the principles Google have sort of taken from Apple, shock, but made it a bit better for AR Core. Also, you have Vuforia, which is another SDK where you can build cross-platform AR experiences. You have AR.js for web developers who want to use JavaScript to create an augmented reality experience for their users. We have Unity, and Unity is really cool if you want to get quickly started up with AR and make it cross-platform. The downside with Unity is that it does add a lot of, it does increase your APK size to roughly 20 megs, which if you're trying to implement an AR experience, I wouldn't suggest use Unity because you're going to add 20 megabytes for no reason. But if you're doing a full AR app and you want to get started straight away, then Unity is a good place to go. Viral Core I have used, and it's a really cool, because when I was trying to get into AR Core, it was a bit tricky. It was like a lot to learn, and I just wanted something to get up and running, and Viral Core was a really good platform to use to work with Androids in Java, and you can create your augmented reality experience really quickly. So there's tons of others out there that if you like to get into using AR. So obviously it's an Android, it's a Londroid, it's about Android developers. So I'm going to talk about AR Core. So AR Core is essentially involved from the Tango project which Google had, which was trying to create an augmented reality experience for developers that they can use. They're trying to create augmented reality SDK for developers to use to push augmented reality out there. But it ran through a few issues. It wasn't really picked up and kicked off, but AR Core evolved from that, and yeah, like I said, it's a platform for building augmented reality experience for which developers can use. It has 3 key capabilities that you should try and understand with AR Core. The first one is motion tracking. So AR Core uses a process called COM, which is concurrent odometer measuring, and essentially it uses that to understand the world, the user's world around them, and in a way that that AR Core can positionally get some points, and then we can place our 3D object. So it uses the COM, which gets the camera visualization, so the user that info, along with the device IMU, which is the inertia measuring unit, just to understand the phone's position in the world, and that way it's able to build its AR Core experience. Second is environmental understanding. While AR Core is using visual points to understand the world, it's also using planes again to help understand the world. So that way it's using a cluster of feature points that are common in flat surfaces like the floor, table, etc., to help place your 3D object there, horizontally or vertically. We'll be able to do that. The one downside I did find about it was if it's like a white wall or a white floor, it finds it really hard to draw a plane on it. So it's still getting there. And the third, but not least, is light estimation. So that way you can create another sense of realism for the user to when the user's in a dimly lit room or brightly lit room. So that way the user can get a sense of realism that this is an AR Core experience. So here we've got our 2 lovely kitties. One's in a light room, and one's in a sort of dark room. And you can see how AR Core works in the sense of the shadow effect. And your object is being measured, so that way AR Core can color in the intensity of it, and that way it can create a sense of realism for the user to understand they're in a dark and light room. So through my research and all of that stuff, getting started with AR Core, you do have to understand augmented reality is, understand what it is, understand how it can be used for, understand the potential of it, and understand a good foundation of how stuff works. You have to understand the basic concept of 6 degrees of freedom, which I'm going to try and see if I can remember. So it's left, right, forward, back, pitch, roll. Yes. Can I have no applause? I remember that. So, and also you've got to understand 3D art, how 3D art works. I don't really understand how 3D art works. I just go on Google and understand the basis of it. That's enough for me to get started. But if you're going to do this for a production app, you're going to have to understand how you can manipulate these objects. And has anyone used Blender before? it makes you appreciate Gradle time on Android Studio, doesn't it? Yeah, it's really like slow, and yeah. I was using Blender to help manipulate my 3D objects that I got from the Poly site of Google. For this tutorial I'll show. And you've got to understand OpenGL, which is like a crazy subject in itself. And that's what made me starting off with AR Core a bit off-putting, because OpenGL is a big thing. A lot of game developers and graphic developers will know much about OpenGL, and it's a very big subject and topic to understand, but it's something that you would need to try and understand with AR Core or when trying to build an augmented reality experience for users. Another thing you've got to understand is anchors and tracker boards, which is more, I'm not sure if it's specific to augmented reality, but I know it's for AR Core, and so you're using essentially anchors to place where you are in the position. So when you place an object on that anchor, when you move your camera, the object remains in that place. Then you've got your tracker board, which is tracking where that anchor is sitting. So, in all of doing that, we Google, which I'll give it to them. They found out that this was a problem for AR Core in terms of you needed good knowledge of OpenGL and a lot of these complicated stuff. And Google was able to introduce the scene form in Google I/O 18, and it was really cool. And it really helps developers, well, Android developers, to get into augmented reality at a high level. You don't really have to really understand what do you call it? You don't have to really understand the environment too well. It just gives you a high level where you can get started. It draws the tracker ball and the anchors for you, so you don't have to do any crazy calculation to work out the world around you. And again, scene form also helps cover up the OpenGL in such a high level way that you can sort of get started in augmented reality with knowing the basics of OpenGL without knowing the whole full thing. Again, it includes a physical-based renderer, and it's a plugin on Android Studio that you can use to import your 3D renderables, which are just essentially your 3D models, which are meshes, materials, textures, etc. So it's very easy. You can, once you get the plugin on Android Studio, it will just chuck it into your, you can put this into your root of your Gradle, then you're pretty much essentially to go. Then on your app Gradle, you can just add the scene form library and the UX form from a library, then the Google scene form plugin. Then you're ready to go. It's really straightforward. So I've got some code here. I don't know how well you can see that. So I can zoom in. Okay, it's a bit better. Cool. Cool. So I've got this awesome class, this Avengers AR class. I don't know, I ran out of names, so I just had to call it that. And it does, just for the ease of this talk, I just did everything essentially in this class. So it's like a god class. I just like to call it Zeus instead. So this is where everything happens here. So when you get started with AR Core, with the same form, you essentially get you essentially set up a fragment here, and you tag the name with Android Core scene form UX AR fragment. That allows you to, that essentially converts that fragment into an AR fragment, which we can then use to implement our AR view. So you get your AR fragment, attach it to your fragment ID in the XML file. Then from there, you're pretty much ready to go. And in using that, it does all the heavy lifting for you in terms of finding the placement of the world, understanding the anchors and tracker balls, and you're ready to go. Essentially, you just use the scene form to import your 3D object, and there you can drop it into your AR view. So I have a couple of useful, because I wanted to be a case where I took a lot of inspiration from the code lab as well to help me understand how C-form works. Then I just essentially use that to show, to present to you guys. So essentially we have the AR set on the update listener again, which is listening up for the updates around the world. And I'm using that information to help understand how I can build the world. Also, I have this little pointer trackable class where essentially it's just a drawable and just helps map the center of the screen. And if the AR core view is able to track, just set the color to green and just draw an X there. Easy for me. So yeah, so we have our update, which is just using the update tracking method, which we're getting from the AR fragment itself to understand what is going on. Is it being able to track the world around it in case, you know, when you're like in a dark room or anything, or in a case where it just can't pick up anything. I needed something to help me understand how I can position my 3D object in the world. And it uses this update hit list, which essentially grabs anywhere that the user's hitting with that AR core view, and that way I can place my 3D object in there. And again, this is where it gets the trackable, so you can understand where I am in the world, and I want to put my object there. So I've got my initialized gallery, which, just for the sake of this, I'm just gonna essentially put if you can see that, I'm gonna put an image here. Then when the user clicks on that image, my AR view model appears. So this is essentially what that initialized gallery does. I just have to put credit there because I don't, in case this guy is here and he could try and sue me. So just throwing it out there. So yeah, then you just call the renderable builder. Really straightforward. All this is on the scene form SDK, and just say, okay, time for me to add the object to the scene, which I'm using the renderable and the anchor to place my object within my view. Now the easier form you go to your OBJ file. I've got loads because I was just playing around with it. But you go to your OBJ file, and also you got to keep your OBJ files in the sample there, because obviously it doesn't get included into your APK. It's actually the SFB file that will be included in it, and that will be your 3D object. So essentially, what you do, you right click it after you've installed the SceneForm plugin. Right click, go to. Oh, I don't have the plugin installed. This is the other computer. But it will appear here, import from SceneForm. You click on it. So I can show you one here actually. Form SDK. That's how I got import it through. So obviously this is just allowing you to how to install the plugin. Then essentially what I was saying is I would have right clicked it, import using SceneForm. Then this little widget will appear, the SceneForm asset, and it will generate all this for you. So that way you don't have to worry about any of the hard stuff. So as long as your OBJ file and your material file (MTL) is in the sample data, you just point to this using this. Then SceneForm will generate the file, the SFB file for you, which is ready to use in your AR view, which is pretty cool. Then it has a little widget. Once you've done that, they'll use the SFB will be read on Android Studio like this. So you've got the JSON file, which will contain the information that you need, and then your model will appear here. So it's again, it's really straightforward to get into. Then in doing so, go back to here. After doing that, I was able to add my model into my SceneForm world. This was like, I literally took this yesterday, so you can see my productivity was really low yesterday. So, okay. So, yeah, so I start my Adventure add activity. As you can see, it's finding the trackable, the anchors. Then from there, a bit too fast, from there, I can click here, click on the image, then my 3D object appears in the AR world. So I'm just going to show you how it works. I had to reduce using Blender, I had to reduce a lot of the quality of the OBJ file because it was just too big. The designer, whoever did it in such a way where it was a big file and it was just going to be crazy size for me to import into the APK. So I just to show how pretty sick it is and how we can get started with SceneForm to start doing our AR core. So, the challenges that we face, not just with AR Core, but with augmented reality, not all mobile devices out there, because they need to be running Android 7 and above for the phone to actually allow them, and there's still a limited number of those devices running 7 that can actually run AR Core or augmented reality experience. Though there's a workaround you can do with Unity and ARJS as well, so that can help you out. Again, it's, like I said, it is a steep learning curve for developers, and it's a sense where, yeah, again, this was, if you don't want to use scenes form, you want to create it your own way. If you're like a AAA developer who can create their own game engine and do it. But again, for just an average developer that just wants to get started with AR Core, it is a steep learning curve. And not every app has a use case for AR Core. It's just for AR itself. So again, it's not, you need to understand what is you're trying to engage with your user to do within their augmented reality experience, what you want from them to gain from it, and if it's actually useful or beneficial to your app. And yeah, debugging in AR Core can be a problem. If you've done it, especially if you've written in if you've written the engine with OpenGL, it can be a problem. It'll be hard to debug because you don't understand if it's the equation that I've written or the algorithm that I've written is wrong. So it can be a headache for, I think just working with OpenGL is a headache in period. But again, Unity, again, you can use Unity to get started, but again, you're adding 20 megabytes. So you need to understand, is this really what you want for your app? Also, yeah, just useful information. If you, I don't know if you're only going to remember this, but if you need, you can either follow me on Twitter and I'll be able to give you these links to understand. But if you want to get up and running with AR Core, these are really useful links to go. You could use my sample project here, and just to get a rough understanding of what I did. There is Kotlin in that project as well, so you can just go through and understand what's going on. And of course, you can use the scene. You can go through the Sceneform SDK and the example, and the code lab as well. That will get you up and running really quickly. And I really like you going to this next reality news. You get so much useful information and inspiration about what's going on in augmented reality and virtual reality, which is really cool. So yeah, that's me. Any questions? Oh, yeah, go.
What are the capabilities of Sceneform? Like, at which point do you have to switch to something like OpenGL?
One thing that I found that was really difficult when you want to render complicated OBJ files or OBJ objects, it becomes very difficult. And if you want to do animation as well, it gets really tricky because from what I've saw from the SDK, it doesn't really show you how to handle animation. But Vericore library that I was using, that helps with handling animation and complex OBJ files.
What was difficult about the OBJ file?
It was difficult because you need like a couple to go through each animation, right? You always try and move around the object you're trying to do, just to show exactly, you get what I'm saying? Yeah, that guy with the glasses had a question.
Oh yeah. At the top of your talk, you said that AR hasn't reached its full potential.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of played with Pokemon for about 2 weeks and then stopped playing with it.
Yeah.
So do you think AR is really going to take off, or do you think it's kind of fad?
I think it can take, especially with us mobile developers. Like I was saying before, not just for games, but it can be used for education purposes. For if you're in medical school, again, it gives you that visual improvisation of understanding what's going on. Again, for teaching kids maths, for teaching kids science, for teaching any of us, it's another form of visual content that we can use, and I feel us developers should be able to use that. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you, Kumir. And right now we're ready for a raffle. Has anyone tweeted? See your hand. Okay. You have good chances.
I need water, my mouth's dry.
Some scripts. And the winner is Can't be Telegraph Engineer. We're gonna have to do it again. Steve Hilton. Are they here? Come on, come fetch your prize. And now we're gonna head downstairs for social, pizza and beer. So thank you everyone for joining and see you next month.
Thank you.